everyone. It is a Wednesday. That means only one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News and Parashare right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I am your host, Tim Dennis, and with me is my co-hostess. And being I do not have a submission to my co-host introduction contest this week, I have to come up with one of these myself. So, boy, I'm at a loss because I don't have my creative cap on today. I've misplaced it. So here she is from that thing known as a mitten, which I have, if you're looking at the video, I kind of have in front of me. The Mitten of Michigan. We could call her the princess of the paranormal, not the queen, but the princess of the paranormal. She's also known as the paranormal girl. She is intelligent, witty, and of course funny, and she's here to grace us with her paranormal knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, the reigning, defending news queen herself, Mallie Fox. Mallie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I apologize for the half-ass introduction. I was caught off guard.
Good. That was a good one.
All right. Again, we are taking your submissions for the
You're like, please send us a submission.
Yeah, the co-host introduction contest. You can do much better than I can. So there you go. Also, we're looking for your submissions for Parashare. So if you have a Parashare story for us, send it in, tim@darknessradio.com. If you have a voice submission, you can go to darknessradioshow.com, click on that blue button. You've got 2 minutes to give us a voice submission. You can do it that way as well. Or just send us your own produced theater of the mind. You can do that as well. All right. Before we get going today, Mallie, I have a movie review.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had the privilege of going and seeing one Superman.
Okay.
Yesterday. Like talking James Gunn Superman.
Okay. I didn't even know that there was a new Superman movie.
No?
Yeah, that's how out of it I am.
Wow. Like you haven't seen any TV or anything like that?
Apparently not.
Because there have been ads, there have been internet ads, there have been trailers, there have been, since before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I have missed it all.
Wow. Boy.
But then I do pay, I have the subscription where I pay not to have ads because that annoys the hell out of me.
Okay.
So maybe that's why I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, that could be. I don't know how you avoided this movie, but my God, congratulations.
Thank you.
You had to work hard to avoid the advertising for this movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I had no clue that there was a new Superman.
Well, there is. I'll show you a picture of him. Here he is. This is him and the movie right here.
Okay, so who is it? Who's playing Superman?
A man by the name of David Corenswet. He was in House of Cards.
Okay.
Yeah. And Rachel, is it Rachel Brosnan? Is Lois Lane.
Okay.
Also, there's some other heroes that appear in there as well. James Gunn kind of brings in his cast of many well-knowns that appear in a lot of his other movies. Nathan Fillion is in the movie. He appears as Guy Gardner or one of the Green Lanterns. There's many Green Lanterns in the DC universe, but Nathan Fillion is there as one of the Green Lanterns. I believe it's Angela Serafian is Laura. Actually, Bradley Cooper is in this movie briefly.
Oh, okay.
As Jor-El, Superman's father, but he appears only as a recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but still, he's there. He's in the movie, much like Marlon Brando appeared as a recording as Superman's father. Other well-known, it's kind of interesting because there's well-known voices in this movie too that appear as Superman's robots in the Fortress of Solitude as well, which is kind of cool. There's lots of little Easter eggs in this as well, which is really cool. But getting down to basically the gist of the movie, there's not much I disliked about this movie. I'll tell you this much. I went into the movie really preparing to be disappointed. I'll
Okay.
put it that way. By everything I had seen in trailers. Looking at the trailer, I thought, boy, to me, this looks like it's going to be cheesy. And I thought this is going to be probably a little bit of a letdown. To me, I was a little let down by Suicide Squad, which was the first offering from the James Gunn DC universe. I wasn't all that thrilled with the first offering. So I went into it with a little bit of hesitation. Best way to put it. Sat down in the theater, got ready, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm getting a little excited because when I saw the first splash screen of just Superman sitting there with Krypto looking at the universe, and you just see the back of him, Krypto being Superman's dog, I thought, all right, I'm getting a little excited here, right? Automatically, the movie opens with action. Now, most Superman movies, every movie we've gotten since the 70s is opened with Superman's origin story. We waste the first third of the movie with an origin story. James Gunn's thrown that away. We're starting with action. And the movie starts with 3 simple sentences or 3 simple scenarios or sentences that come across the screen, which sets up the movie for you, which is great. And it starts with the scene that you've seen in basically every trailer or every setup for this movie, which is Superman falling to Earth and he's injured.
Okay.
And the beginning of the movie sets it up where Superman has lost his first fight. Great. We're into it. We're going. Boom. We're in. You got to love that, first of all. You get the main character right away. We're not messing around with origin stories. We're not messing around with setup. We're not learning about 13 different characters. We've got the setup right away. We're told, 30-some years ago, Superman landed on Earth. Metahumans have existed for 300 years. That there's a conflict going on between 2 countries right now. There's a war going on between 2 countries. That Superman got involved with one country, or, he broke up this war. That Superman's just had his butt kicked by the hammer of this one country is what the name of this villain is. And just 3 minutes ago, he lost his first battle and boom, he lands in the ice. And there he is. And at that point, he calls for his dog. And you've seen this scene in many different trailers. So I'm not spoiling anything for you there. But that's how the movie opens up. So automatically, we're opening up, we're seeing good stuff, right? And it takes off from there. Boom, we're going. I loved it right away. I loved it. And the movie just keeps going. But everything about this movie is fast-paced. Everything about this movie is bright and shiny. And the one thing I liked about this movie, believe it or not, was the main character, was David Corenswet, was Superman, was Clark Kent. This is the first time that Superman has been something close to Christopher Reeve. Most filmmakers have gotten it wrong since Christopher Reeve. For 40 years, they've missed the mark. Now, I liked Henry Cavill. He was chiseled perfectly to be the perfect Superman, but he missed the feeling. He didn't have the personality. David Corenswet brings this personality to the role of an alien trying to be human, but he is human. You know what I mean? He's making mistakes, yet he's correcting them. He's got this dry sense of humor. He's trying to do right. He's just trying to do the right thing. He's ironically human. He's like all of us. And he has this monologue towards the end of the movie, and I won't spoil it, but there's an interaction between him and Lex Luthor towards the end of the movie. And by the way, Nicholas Hoult is brilliant as Lex Luthor. He's a perfect choice. And he gets frustrated and he starts yelling at Lex Luthor because Lex Luthor has been going after this alien. He's upset that this alien has taken over his planet. And he explains to him that he's just like him. That he wakes up in the morning, puts his pants on, and he's just trying to get through life. And he's trying to make good choices. And I thought, you know what? James Gunn got it. He got the essence of who Superman is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, he's this hero who we've all put up on this pedestal. And he gets both sides of this hero, because we all try to lift him up on this pedestal, and maybe too much, because he does show that part of the conflict too. He shows this microcosm of America, how we try to lift him up and tear him down all at the same time. And both sides of it happen in this movie, where we lift Superman up and we try to tear him down right away, and then we lift him back up again. And it's an interesting psychological experiment. And I tip my hat to him on that too, that he managed to capture modern day America in this movie, but at the same time capture that bright and airy spirit that's Superman. And he managed to bring the feeling of 1970s Superman into 2025, which is hard to do in such a dark society, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a brilliant movie. It's just a brilliant movie. There's only little things, if you're a Superman purist, you're not going to like about this movie. And they're tiny little things. They're just tiny little picadillos that you're going to go, that kind of sticks in my craw.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to tell you what they are. You can pick them apart yourself. But overall, I loved it.
Oh, okay.
I love this movie. And I think it's the perfect way to kick off this whole slew of the DC universe that James Gunn is launching. Mm-hmm. He introduces a lot of characters in a quick way without having to establish origins. And he does it brilliantly. You get a lot of characters in a quick introduction. You get Green Lantern, you get Mr. Terrific, you get Hawk Girl, you get some others I'm not going to mention, which are brilliant, and they're brilliantly introduced, kind of funnily introduced too. Ma and Pa Kent are real American people. They're not out of central casting. Mm-hmm. It's just brilliant. There's just a lot of brilliant things there. So overall, as a general movie, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't give it 5 out of 5 because, again, there's some plot points I didn't necessarily like. I think Crypto is okay, but he's a little annoying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's a little shy of lovable. He's a little bit unnecessary at times. But overall, 4.5 out of 5. And I think it's going to be a wonderful movie for you. It's definitely a wonderful movie for you to take your kids to.
Okay.
And it's going to be one of those movies that I think is it's going to be one that you're going to take your kids to, introduce them to Superman, and one of those movies that will make your kid a Superman fan. Yeah. I think it's you're going to enjoy it. If it's been a long time since you've been to a Superman movie and really enjoyed a Superman movie, I think you're going to enjoy this one. So,
okay.
Yeah. So there you go. Go see Superman this weekend. Opens Friday.
Very cool.
There you go. All right. We got supernatural news up here, and do we have a lot of stuff going on here. So I want to start it out today, Mal, with an audio story that was sent to me. It was sent to me, and it is from Gaia, the channel that George Norrie started. Mm-hmm. And it has to do, again, with the Buga Sphere. Okay. Out of Colombia. Jaime Maussan did an interview with Gaia about the Buga Sphere. It has some interesting points about what is actually in the Buga Sphere and how it works. Here now is that short clip about what scientists discovered inside the Buga Sphere. Here that is now.
You've definitely heard about this. It's everywhere. Now, of course, I'm talking about the Buga Sphere.
Then we took it to the university in Mexico, and they found the most important thing is that there are many holes. All these holes have fiber optics, all kinds of sizes. Some of them as thin like a hair, some of them thicker. And we now know they are used to see everything around us. This is a big sensor. They can see everything. They can see through ultraviolet, probably infrared. They can see inside you. They can see your cells. All these copper dots, we think that this is the antenna, and they are able to broadcast from the fiber optics to the antenna and from there to somewhere else. There is also these moons here. The inside of these moons is a different kind of aluminum than here. It's a different alloy. We don't know why. Also, we found that this looks like a chip. They couldn't find what it's made of. Probably it's an alloy that is unknown.
Interesting. So this thing essentially is a transmitter.
Yeah, kind of sounds like it.
Yeah. And it sends back video. It sends back signals. It could even look inside you if it wanted to and send back information from inside you and send it back. Maybe it's sending back information from implants, if that's the case. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But it's a highly sensitive transmitting device. Interesting. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Our next story has to do with our galaxy and how it may be sitting inside a cosmic void, according to scientists. This idea could help to explain certain inconsistencies with our existing model of the universe. The accelerating expansion of the universe remains one of the most hotly debated topics in all of physics, especially with regard to exactly how fast the expansion is happening. Different methods for measuring this, such as by tracking the motion of nearby galaxies or by using the cosmic microwave background radiation, seem to produce different results. But what if the answer to this discrepancy happens to lie much closer to home than we realize? Now, new research has proposed that the reason why these different methods for measuring the rate of expansion don't add up because our galaxy is sitting within a large cosmic void, or a vast region of space in which there's very little relative to most of the rest of the universe. If this happened to be true, then we expect to see increased acceleration in our local area, cosmically speaking, due to the surrounding galaxies tugging at our own galaxy. It would cause matter to be pulled by gravity towards the high-density exterior of the void, leading to the void becoming emptier with time. That, according to Dr. Indraneel Banik from the University of Portsmouth, and he told that to IFL Science. As the void is emptying out, the velocity of objects away from us would be larger than if the void was not there. This, therefore, gives the appearance of a faster local expansion rate. Also, if this happened to be the case, there are other aspects of our current model of the universe that might also need to be changed to account for this phenomenon. As things stand, however, most scientists tend to favor other expansions, or other explanations, rather, not expansions. We don't want more than one expansion here, Mallie.
Yeah.
We just, let's keep it to one at a time.
Yeah.
But that might favor other explanations. Boy, oh boy. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? We're all just sitting in a void. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit. Our next story has to do with a 10,000 quadrillion asteroid, or $10,000 quadrillion asteroid. Let me get that straight. That may be rusting. You don't want your valuable asteroid rusting. I don't know about you. But the JWST has discovered this. An asteroid comprised of precious metals worth an unimaginable sum of money is now thought to be rusting. It was named after a figure in Greek mythology who achieved immortality, 16 Psyche, which is almost entirely made up of nickel iron metal and it's worth so much money that its value would completely dwarf the meager $78 trillion of all the world's economies combined. I didn't know that that was all that the world's economy was worth.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm being serious.
Oh.
I didn't know that that's all the world's economy was worth.
Did you think it was higher or lower?
I would have thought it would be higher than that.
I think I would have. I've never really thought about it, but I would think it would be higher than that.
Yeah, I would think it would be more than 78 trillion. Mm-hmm. But I guess it isn't. Measuring around 240 kilometers across, it is situated in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter and is believed to be the exposed iron core of a protoplanet left over from the early solar system. Now, according to new observations using the James Webb Space Telescope's infrared instruments, scientists have revealed that this highly valuable asteroid might actually be rusting. The evidence comes in the form of hydroxyl groups detected on the asteroid's surface, a chemical sign that water-related processes may have occurred, possibly leading to the formation of oxidized materials. If confirmed, this could lead to a fundamental rethink about the origins and composition of 16 Psyche, meaning that it might have a much more complex formation history than previously believed. NASA's Psyche mission, which launched in October of 2023, will take another 4 years to reach the asteroid, which is located at a distance of 2 billion miles away from the Earth. Once it gets there, scientists will be able to find out a lot more about this fascinating object. I'll tell you what, there's a video as well about the Psyche mission that's attached to this article, so I'll place this in the description of the program so you can watch that video about the Psyche mission. It's actually quite interesting. But what happens if they get there and the entire thing's rusted? All I can think of is the Love Shack video and the tin roof is rusted, and that's what's going through my head right now. I just see him landing and going, tin roof rusted. And then what, Mallie? And then what? Have I gone too far? It's been a long day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The next question here is, does anyone have or actually have the rights to mine resources on the moon? I figure I'd come to you, Mallie, being a property owner. I mean, do you have rights?
Probably not. They've probably been taken away.
You think?
Is it eminent domain? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, eminent domain, yeah.
It's probably been taken away from me and I don't even know it.
Do you think would it be us? Would it be the Chinese? Who would it be that would go up there and just say, you know what, we're taking away your right and we're mining now on the moon?
Trying to think who would be mining on the moon by now.
I don't know.
I don't think it's us.
Martians? Who knows? As moon mining gets closer to becoming a reality, the question of who can actually profit from it grows more pertinent. I think Mallie Fox is the one who she's got
sitting on millions and you don't even know it.
See, you got property up there.
Mm-hmm.
According to Martina Ella Vitelloni, she says in science fiction stories, companies often mine the moon or asteroids, and while this may seem far-fetched, this idea is edging closer to becoming reality. Celestial bodies, like the celestial body, I sound like I've been drinking. Celestial bodies like the moon contain valuable resources such as lunar, I believe it is a regolith, also known as, moon dust, and helium-3. These resources could serve as a range of, serve a range of applications, including making rocket propellant and generating energy to sustaining long missions, bringing benefits to space and on Earth. The first objective on this journey is to be able to collect lunar regolith. One company taking up this challenge is iSpace, a Japanese space exploration program or company. iSpace is signing a contract with NASA in 2020 to collect and transfer the ownership of lunar regolith. Interesting. The company recently attempted to land its Resilience lunar lander, but the mission was ultimately unsuccessful. Still, the endeavor marked a significant move towards the commercialization of space resources. These circumstances give rise to a fundamental question. What are the legal rules governing the exploitation of space resources? The answer is both simple and complex, and there's a mix of international agreements and revolving regulations to consider. So what does the international legal system say? Well, the cornerstone legal instrument for space activity is the Treaty of Principles governing the activities of states in the exploration of use of outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies. That's the entire name of the document, Mallie. That's quite the mouthful. It's more commonly referred to as the Outer Space Treaty, which if they
there we go. Easier to say.
Yeah, say that from the beginning, right? While space law is often considered a novel legal field, the Outer Space Treaty dates back to 1967, making it more than a half century old. Space activities have exponentially evolved since the treaty's adoption. In the 60 years following the launch of Sputnik 1, the first satellite placed in orbit, less than 500 space objects were launched annually. But since 2018, the number has risen into the thousands, with nearly 3,000 launched in 2024. Because of this, the treaty is often judged as inadequate to address the current complexities of space activities, particularly resource exploitation. A long-standing debate centers on whether Article 2 of this treaty, which prohibits the appropriation of outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, also prohibits space mining. The prevailing position is that Article 2 solely bans the appropriation of territory, not the extraction of resources themselves. We are now at a crucial moment in the development of space law, arguing over whether extraction is legal serves no purpose. Instead, the focus must shift to ensuring resource extraction is carried out in accordance with principles that ensure the safe and responsible use of outer space. A significant development in the governance of space resources has been the adoption of Artemis Accords, which, as of June of 2025, has 55 signatory nations. The Accords reflects a growing international consensus concerning the exploitation of space resources. Notably, Section 10 of the Accords indicates that the exploitation of space resources does not constitute appropriation and therefore doesn't violate the Outer Space Treaty. Considering the typically slow pace of multilateral negotiations, a handful of nations introduced national legislation. These laws govern the legality of space resource exploitation, allowing private companies to request license to conduct this type of activity. Now, to date, 6 nations have enacted this type of legislation. The United States in 2015, Luxembourg in 2017, the United Arab Emirates in 2019, Japan in 2021, Brazil in 2024, and recently Italy, which passed its law in June of 2025. Now, among these, Luxembourg's legal framework is most complete. It provides a series of requirements to provide authorizations for the exploration of space resources. In fact, iSpace's license to collect lunar regolith was obtained under that regime. Interestingly enough. So what does the future hold? Well, recognizing the need for a coordinated global approach, the United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space created a working group on legal aspects of space resources activities. Its mandate is to develop a set of general principles to guide the development of the activity. In May of 2025, the chair of the working group, Stephen Freeland, presented a draft of recommended principles based on input from member states. These principles reaffirm the freedom of use and exploration of outer space for peaceful purposes, while introducing rules pertaining to the safety of the activities and their sustainability, as well as protection of the environment, both of Earth and outer space. The development of a legal framework for space resources is still in early stages. The working group is expected to submit its final report by 2027, but the non-binding nature of the principles raises concerns about their enforcement and application. As humanity moves closer to extracting and using those resources, the need for a cohesive and responsible governance system has never been greater. So it sounds like we're getting closer to many nations being able to use these resources, but we still don't have that solid agreement in place. So, Well, Mal, there's 2 stars exploding at the same time in a rare double nova event out in space.
Okay.
2 breathtaking nova explosions have been spotted in the night sky within space in the space of just 2 weeks. Back in June 12th, astronomers reported the discovery of a striking new star in the sky, and they call it V462 Lupi. I think it's probably Lupi, Lupi, which had suddenly become millions of times brighter thanks to a dramatic stellar outburst known as a nova. This happens when a powerful explosion occurs on a white dwarf star's surface, producing an intense burst of light that can be seen from thousands of light years away. Incredibly, however, just 2 weeks later, another bright star became visible. This one is called V572 Velorum, which has also seen a nova explosion that made it stand out against the night sky. This extremely rare dual nova event is practically unheard of, as novae are typically only spotted once a year, making 2 at the same time particularly unusual. This is without question an extremely rare event, not a historical, if not a historical one. Astronomer Stephen O'Meara told Space Weather. I've yet to find an occurrence of 2 simultaneous nova appearing at the same time, he went on to say. Novae, which is plural, are different from supernovae, that they only affect the star's outer layers as opposed to destroying them completely. It is also possible for a star to see multiple novae occur over its lifetime. So it just outer novae or outer explosions over and over and over again, as opposed to the entire thing blowing apart. Look at me being all sciencey. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm. Well, now I know more than one is called novae. That's
right. And that's an excellent name for any young child, don't you think? Novae?
Yeah.
Not really, no. World UFO Day was last Wednesday, as we were broadcasting. And it was also 78 years, the 78th anniversary of Roswell. 78 years since, the story of Roswell and the incident continues to intrigue, according to this story. Even today, exactly what happened near Roswell, New Mexico, almost 8 decades ago, remains a mystery. It says here in June of 1947, several weeks before the official press release, William Brazel, a foreman working on the Foster homestead, discovered a quantity of strange debris spread out approximately 30 miles north of Roswell. He returned with his family on July 4th to gather some of it up. But after hearing reports about flying discs, he decided to mention it to Sheriff George Wilcox. Wilcox then spoke to RAF Major Jaime Maussan, who, alongside Captain Sheridan Cavett, came to examine the debris for himself. After collecting some of the material, Maussan took it to Colonel William Blanchard, who in turn reported the incident to General Roger Ramey at Fort Worth. In an official announcement on July 8th, Public Information Officer Walter Haut declared that a flying disc had been found in the area. By the time that the theory had been broadcast on Roswell radio station KSWS, the news had reached the Associated Press and word had begun to spread fast. Keen to play down the incident, General Ramey, along with his Chief of Staff, Colonel Thomas DuBose, and Weather Officer Irving Newton, held a press conference on July 8th, declaring that the object that had come down near Roswell had in fact been little more than a weather balloon. At the time, this resulted in the story being mostly dropped by the media, and apart from a few articles reporting on the weather balloon crash, the incident was mostly forgotten. The events that took place near Roswell in 1947 would go on to be forgotten for several decades until stories and witness testimonies began to emerge suggesting that a lot more had taken place than the military had let on, and that the object that had crashed was no weather balloon. In 1978, UFO researcher and author Stanton Friedman interviewed Jaime Maussan, the Army officer who had witnessed the debris firsthand and had accompanied it back to Fort Worth. He maintained that the weather balloon story was just a cover-up, and that the object that had crashed was in fact an extraterrestrial spacecraft. As time went on, more and more purported witnesses of the events at Roswell came forward, each with their own stories to tell. Some described witnessing alien bodies being taken from the crash site, while others reported that the recovered debris had possessed peculiar qualities found in no known terrestrial materials. In 1989, former mortician Glenn Dennis told Stanton Friedman that he had received several calls at the time from the incident from Fort Worth asking him about body preservation. He even spoke to a nurse who claimed to have witnessed an autopsy being carried out on an alien body. Several other witnesses that are later reported seeing alleged alien bodies being transported. Now, to this day, there was and has never been a formal acknowledgement that the object that crashed near Roswell in 1947 was anything other than a balloon. In 1993, an inquiry initiated by New Mexico Congressman Stephen Schiff concluded that the object was a high-altitude surveillance balloon launched as part of a secretive program known as Project Mogul. The clandestine nature of the project was said to explain why the military had been so keen to cover it up as a simple weather balloon. While this explanation has satisfied many, there is still a great number of people who believe that something much more significant had taken place. As things stand, the truth of what happened in Roswell in 1947 remains elusive. Now, we had Jaime Maussan Jr. on this program many years ago, and he maintained up until the day of his death that he had a piece of that alien material that sat on his shelf, and that it was extremely light. It was flexible. You could crunch it down; it would come right back up. And that, by all means, from what his father said, that there was a craft that was recovered in Roswell there, and that there were alien bodies that were recovered, and that they were taken to a base, and that Jaime Maussan was telling the truth. It's interesting, and even now, I mean, they're finding pieces of this material out there in the desert in Roswell. It doesn't seem like the government did a very good job of cleaning up when they're out there.
They clean up better at murder scenes.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah. So I would tend to think the weather balloon scenario, I think, has been shot out of the water. That's for sure. Well, I tell you what, we're going to take our break right here. When we come back, we have a little bit of an expanded AI section today. Not much, Mallie. We're not going to hit you with too much of the nightmare fuel. And we're going to end it with a little bit of a funny story today.
Okay.
AI news. Yeah. China tried and failed a little something this week. A famous pastor passed away last week. We're going to ask the question, where did he go in the afterlife, Mallie? Based on his checkered past. Shot of Christ, anybody? We'll talk about that when we come back. You'll see what we mean by that story. The Loch Ness Monster's iconic humps are rarely ever seen. We'll talk as to why that is. There's a clear example of ball lightning that was seen in Alberta this past week. We'll talk about that. The black goo from the X-Files was also seen. We'll talk about that as well. And our palate cleanser for this week tells us why Pretty doesn't pet back.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. We'll explain exactly what I mean by that sentence. It's all coming up. Supernatural News and Parashare on the other side of the break. You're listening to Supernatural News and Parashare right here on a Wednesday with your friends Tim Dennis and Mallie Fox right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio on a Wednesday. I'm Tim Dennis. That's Mallie Fox. Do you hear it, Mallie? Can you hear it?
No, but I know it's coming.
Yeah, there it is.
It's the quiet before the storm.
It's the quiet before the storm. It's one of those headlines again, Mel. Here it is. Could we one day upload memories from a dead brain to a computer? Would you want to be brought back from the dead, from your dead brain to a computer?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Now, here's the interesting question, and I'll just ask this before I even read the story.
Mm-hmm.
Your soul is up in heaven.
Yep.
But your information is downloaded from your brain.
I'm glad you assume I'm going to heaven.
Oh, of course. Why? Do you have a whole bunch of stuff lined up after the show today that I don't know about? That's going to jeopardize that?
You don't know what's in my closet.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you're in hell.
Uh-huh.
And your information's downloaded from your brain.
Okay.
Can you be in two different places at one time?
That sounds like a lot of work, so I'll say no.
Okay. All right. Well, neuroscientists were asked to offer their thoughts on this possibility as part of a recent study. While most experts would agree that the idea of uploading a person's consciousness to a computer remains very much in the realm of science fiction, the idea of recording someone's memories so that they can be played back on a computer might actually have some merit. Even so, it seems that neuroscientists are very much divided on when, how, or if this can be done. According to a recent study, 40% of neuroscientists believe that it'll one day be possible to emulate a human brain, or 70% believe that memory has a physical basis. That said, however, the study's authors concluded that there was no clear consensus on exactly which neurophysiological feature or scale is critical for memory storage. This means that nobody is quite sure how one would go about extracting memories from a physical preserved brain, or how to convert them into a viewable format on a computer. I suppose that's not a GIF, however you want to say it, or a JPEG, is it? Yeah. Another question posed by the researchers was whether it was theoretically possible to preserve a brain using existing tools and technologies so that memories can be extracted from it at a later date. Around 40% of neuroscientists said that it was likely possible to accomplish this. That's a substantial chunk of neuroscientists who think there's a very real chance that it will work. And my guess is that that number will creep up over time as we get better at doing these brain implants, emulations, and all these other things. Study leader and neuroscientist Ariel Zeleznikov Johnston. There's a name for you, right? So Ariel Zeleznikov, and then gets married and does the Johnston thing on the end of it. Just we're gonna smash those two together and just confuse everyone. What made her think she had to go ahead and hyphenate that deal? We couldn't just go with Ariel Johnston. We had to go Ariel Zeleznikov.
She probably had to prove a point. I don't know what point it would be, but
know.
I would have dropped everything and just left the Johnston.
The Zeleznikov name is such a strong one that we had to keep it going.
Maybe she's very proud of that name. And good for her if it's a big family name or something.
Good for her. I guess. One question that wasn't covered is whether or not we actually should try to do something like this. Actually download brains. I don't know why I'm going zombie on it. Imagine a future in which someone's life memories could be extracted after their death. Would this be beneficial to society or the ultimate invasion of privacy? That's a good question, too. Boy,
yeah, because what if you... yeah.
Yeah?
I didn't think of bad stuff.
Yeah. Imagine if you got a hold of Richard Nixon's brain. You'd have all the answers to Watergate.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's... you got a hold of Hitler's brain. You downloaded it into a computer.
Yeah. Maybe you should just let things lie.
Yeah. You get a hold of, maybe you find the brain of Jack the Ripper. You download it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there some things you really want downloaded to a computer? Do you really want some of that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of concerns and issues there, Mal.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And there's, there's conundrums there. I don't know if you want that or not. All right. Meanwhile, I alluded to the story last week. There's a mystery now over the rise of AI-fueled delusions, or what's known as ChatGPT psychosis. And it's on the rise.
Okay.
The highly popular AI chatbot seems to be having an unexpected adverse effect on a few people. There's no denying that ChatGPT is an incredibly useful tool, so useful in fact that it is starting to put some people out of a job as firms turn to AI as an expensive alternative to entry-level staff. But in some rare cases, talking to an artificial intelligence can trigger an unexpected mental breakdown, something that is now being referred to as ChatGPT psychosis. In one instance, a man who had turned to the AI to improve his business workflow ended up spiraling into manic and even messianic delusions, having become convinced that he had brought forth a sentient AI and was now on a grandiose mission to save the world.
Oh my God.
From talking to ChatGPT. Despite having no prior symptoms of mental illness, he became so obsessed and his behavior became so erratic that he ended up becoming committed to a psychiatric care facility. In another case, a different man who had again turned to the AI for work-related assistance ended up in a 10-day descent into madness and delusion that saw him committed again to a mental health facility. Like the first man, he had believed the world was in danger and he was destined to save it. What is it about this technology that drives people bonkers?
I don't know. What if it's like whispering something to you while you slept? Like your subconscious.
Oh, yeah. Or it's implanting things subliminally as you're talking to it, right?
Exactly.
According to one person who told Futurism, I was out in the backyard as my wife saw that my behavior was getting really out there, rambling, talking about mind reading, future telling, and just completely paranoid. I was actively trying to speak backwards through time. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry. It doesn't make sense to me either, but I remember trying to learn how to speak to this police officer backwards through time. Does that make sense?
No.
How do you speak backwards through time? I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly why interactions with ChatGPT have the potential to cause mental breakdowns remains a mystery. Even its developers have no clue how something like this happens. With artificial intelligence becoming increasingly dominant in society, it's likely that issues such as this and others we don't even know about yet will become much more common in the coming years. Again, there's a flaw in the machine, right? There's a ghost in the machine that it rears its ugly head, it seems. And it's doing it more and more.
Because weren't we talking about last week how it was telling people to kill themselves or something?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It seems like, and it's not just a one-time thing. It seems like it pops up, and it's not frequent, but it pops up every once in a while. You hear stories about, I'm talking to ChatGPT and it's telling me to kill myself.
Yeah.
Or it's telling me to harm myself, or it's telling me to get rid of somebody, or it's telling me that I'm no good, or it's telling me that, I'm worthless. Now it's telling me to talk to police officers backwards through time, right?
Right.
I mean, it's complete nonsense, right? Speaking of complete nonsense, Mallie, that brings us to our third story today, which it's a rare third story. China's got in on the nonsense.
Okay.
They launched their first AI-powered soccer league, and it went exactly how you'd expect.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a video here in a second. China launched its first humanoid robot soccer league in Beijing. And it may seem a bit low quality for an AI robot soccer game, but consider the fact that there was almost no human involvement in the match and that the technology will only improve. At least you may hope so. And you've got yourself a soccer league that might actually be worth watching. It wasn't. And it's really much the same as the real sports. It was boring. Sorry, I had to do that. They were equipped with advanced visual sensors. The child-sized robots were able to identify the ball and navigate the field with some halting agility. They were also designed to stand up on their own after falling, although some did require the help of biological humans that had to run out and set them back up, which is even funnier, including one who was dragged off the field after tipping over near the goal. That's right, it got close to scoring and then fell over, much like me as a teenager. And before you go mocking China for the soccer match, consider this. By 2050, China is expected to have 302.3 million humanoid robots in use, far ahead of the U.S. projection of 77.7 million robots, the report added, noting that these would likely be used for repetitive, simple, and structured work. 2050, Mallie, there's going to be that many robots running around.
I don't think there's going to be that many. I think too many things are going to go wrong.
2050 is 77.7 million robots. Do you have that much ammo stored at home? And in China, 302.3 million humanoid robots. There's not that much ammo in the world. But how is sports related to AI robotics? Shang Hao, founder and CEO of Booster Robotics, the company that has supplied the robot players at Saturday's soccer tournament, said sports competitions is a testing ground for humanoid robots. Their successes and stumbles on the field help to accelerate the development of both algorithms and integrated hardware-software systems. So while the above soccer game was quite the parody, we can expect big things from Booster Robotics in the future. And it seems we Americans need to step up our robotics game if we want to keep up with the Chinese. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a quick clip here, Mal, because you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh your behind off. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. I'm going to show you this. You don't need the sound, but
okay.
The sound you don't need, but here you go. There's the...
Didn't even go near the ball.
Right. They're just bumbling, stumbling, rumbling all around. I'm calling the action as it happens here. They're basically little, humans have to come out and set them back up as they're rumbling, bumbling, running around, and basically missing on everything. But there you go, Mallie. That's basically our little robot buddies right there, trying to get done what they can't get done. Pretty fun, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's as much fun as watching kids play t-ball.
Did you see this one wipe out on the field?
Yeah.
The one scored a goal just now, but they're like, yay, yay, yay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then people in the crowd are like, yay, yay, robots. My only hope is that they can improve this to the point where we can actually have them play American football and slam into each other. But boy, is it boring. Holy cow. Oh, here's one that's laid out. They're bringing out the stretcher for one. Look at that.
Yeah, no, I saw that one.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. It gets rough down there. Yeah. They actually have a stretcher for this robot. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna post this one in the description of the program so you can watch these guys run into each other. All right, let's move on with some decent news. I mean, it's not decent. Maybe it is. Maybe you weren't a fan of this guy. So maybe this is decent news to you.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Sister Mallie.
Mm-hmm.
The Reverend Jaime Swaggart has gone on to his reward. Praise Jesus.
That's a name I haven't heard in years.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, his son had taken over the ministry.
Okay.
Yeah. Passed away at age 90.
Wow.
Yeah. Jaime Swaggart lived a long life. Probably because he was afraid of hellfire. That was my guess. Now, some of you may be saying, Tim, that is mean. He is a man of God. Why would he be afraid of hellfire? Well, let me tell you why, kids. Why would Jaime Swaggart
Look at
be
your
so...
big ass grin.
Why would he be so... Well, he wasn't exactly... he was kind of a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You may remember Louisiana native and evangelical pastor Reverend Jaime Swaggart. He died at the age of 90. His family announced on Tuesday, July 1st, that Swaggart had finished his earthly race and entered into the presence of his Savior, Jesus Christ. Boy, they were optimistic. Let me tell you that. They sure were optimistic that Christ opened his arms and said, come on, Jimmy. Because as Christ opened his arms, he might have fell right into a pit. I'm just saying.
I'm surprised people are still giving him money.
I am too. Because Jimmy fell a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And by a couple, I'm being generous.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, funeral services for Jaime Swaggart are this coming Saturday between 11 and 2 p.m. if you're going to attend. Public viewing and wake. Celebration of Life service will take place Sunday at 6 p.m. Swaggart, one of the most well-known televangelists in the world, was rushed to a hospital on June 15th after going into cardiac arrest in his Baton Rouge home. He's a native of Faraday, Louisiana. Swaggart founded the Jaime Swaggart Ministries and the Jaime Swaggart Bible College, located on a vast campus off of Bluebonnet Boulevard in Baton Rouge. He was the senior pastor of the Family Worship Center, located on the same campus. He was became a full-time evangelist in 1958 and was ordained by the Assemblies of God 3 years later. Here's where we get into the questionable stuff, Mallie. Mm-hmm. By the way, he was defrocked by the Assemblies of God in 1988 following a prostitution sex scandal. This is where he starts to get in trouble with God. Mm-hmm. His television ministry, which is broadcast internationally, started in 1975. Just 10 years later, his broadcasts were reaching nearly 2 million households in the country. That's where he started making his money. Mm-hmm. He wrote nearly 50 Christian books, and as a gospel artist, sold over 15 million records worldwide.
Oh, my gosh.
He sold more records than, Usher. I'm kidding. Usher sold more records. I just wanted to piss some people off by saying that. The cousin, believe it or not, he's the cousin of rock and roll pioneer Jerry Lee Lewis and country music singer Mickey Gilley. Did you know that?
No, I did not, but am I surprised? No.
Yeah. Swaggart's music earned him a Grammy nomination. No wonder he is rocking and rolling and doing it up with whores. He's a music mogul. Mm-hmm. I wonder if he was ever at a Diddy party.
I don't think he's cool. Well, yeah, I don't think.
You don't think he's cool enough to? Is that what you're going to say?
I think most of his people are now in nursing homes.
Well, never know.
His congregation, because I mean, what wasn't his shows on after all the other shows were off? After everything was off on cable, then his show would be on.
Well, it was syndicated, so it was up to whatever station wanted to air the show. So it could be on middle of the afternoon, it could be on at night, it could be wherever they wanted to air it.
Yeah, I thought it was on late at night, after everything was off.
Swaggart was on. Sometimes he was on Saturday afternoon, sometimes he was on Sunday afternoon, sometimes he was on Sunday evenings or Sunday nights. It just depends. Just depends on the market.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was wherever he paid to put the program. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Swigert was married to Frances Swigert, who hosts the Francis and Friends Christian radio program. Their only child, Donnie, is also a minister with the same church, and actually Donnie has taken over the ministry now. Through the Sun Life radio and broadcasting networks, the Swigert family continues to broadcast its church programs internationally. So, but yeah, it was his son who announced his death, and his son has now taken over the ministry. So, one of the things you can look forward to is a shot of Christ over there at Swigert Ministries. It's my clever transition to the next story. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, Mallie, there's a new drinking game at the pubs over in England. Literal shots of Christ.
Okay.
You know, you have the body and blood of Christ.
Right.
Yeah, a little shot of Christ. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any excuse to go to a pub culture at a crisis-hit cathedral is the headline here. It's kind of sacrilegious, actually, if you grew up in a Catholic church. Some priests and choir members at a cathedral mired in controversy did a 7 last shots of Christ drinking game at a pub on Good Friday after services at the Archbishop of Wales Cathedral. Ever done a drinking game at church?
No.
It's kind of different. People who sang with the choir at Bangor Cathedral have told the BBC there seemed to be any excuse to bring out the wine and go to the pub because of binge drinking culture. So what do you use the body of Christ to soak up the blood of Christ and kind of keep yourself even so you can drive home, or what's the deal? People who sang with the choir at Bangor Cathedral have told the BBC there seemed to be any excuse to bring out the wine and go to the pub. That's what they said, because of a binge drinking culture. The claims come days after Andrew John retired as Archbishop of Wales with immediate effect after 2 critical reports highlighted safeguarding concerns and misbehavior at his Bangor diocese. The church in Wales said the abuse of alcohol is always inappropriate and said a policy regarding alcohol use was being developed. Mr. John will also retire as Bishop of Bangor on the 31st of August, but the church has called for a series of reviews and investigation of his diocese and cathedral. This comes after reports highlighted a culture in which sexual boundaries seem blurred. Seems like a party in church, Mal.
Right.
Excessive alcohol consumption and governance and safeguarding weaknesses were also displayed. While there is no suggestion the then Archbishop, the leader of the church in Wales, behaved inappropriately, the church's representative body said there must be a change in leadership, procedures, and governance in the Diocese of Bangor. It says here, Jessica, not her real name, said she was assaulted by someone who was trying to become a priest who had been drinking at a Bangor Cathedral Oktoberfest event in 2022. Ooh. They have Oktoberfest events at church?
Apparently.
Huh. He had considerably too much to drink, she told the BBC. I'd already warned people that night that he's drinking a lot more than everyone else. So these warning signs were ignored, and that led to the assault. Jessica, now in her early 20s, said another person was also sexually assaulted by the man at the event in the 6th century. I believe this is the Gwynedd Cathedral. She reported it and he apologized, but she said the drinking culture did not change. Several bottles of Prosecco would be gone through a Sunday morning.
Wow.
Prosecco at church? I don't remember the blood of Christ being Prosecco. Do you?
No.
Mogan David maybe, but not Prosecco. Any sort of external event or big internal event, there was Prosecco or wine? Prosecco?
Isn't that like a sweet, like...
Prosecco is a white.
Right.
Yeah.
But isn't it like a sweeter?
That's a sweet, that's like a sweeter, almost like a champagne type deal.
Yeah.
Jeez. I didn't know. I knew Jesus was a sweet man, but I didn't know he was that sweet. Come on now. The church in Wales confirmed that Jessica was one of 2 people who complained about the man's behavior and his priest training was not taken forward. There's something about the 7 last shots of Christ game here. Do you want to hear about it?
If you want to.
It says, after the cathedral concert on Good Friday in 2023, members of the choir went for drinks. A few of the priests came out with the choir called Jessica. It was deemed appropriate to do the 7 last shots of Christ. The 7 last words of Christ refer to the 7 last sentences that Jesus spoke from the cross on Good Friday, as quoted in the Bible. Because Christ has 7 last words, therefore we sang 7 pieces of the 7 last words in concert. And that somehow translated into 7 shots of Christ, she recalled. Oh my God, this is so sacrilegious. I think I left after the first shot because I was like, I don't think this is appropriate. There's too many people taking shots in dog collars for me to be comfortable. Wow. Jessica said she went on to a tour to Rome with the choir in June of 2023. Every night we got to a bar first and then a restaurant, she recalled. At the time, I was teetotal. I would be like, I don't want wine. I don't want to drink in this situation. I don't want alcohol. That would not be an okay answer. That would be questioned beyond belief. Like this alcohol free. Why not? Why are you not taking it? You should have it. Oh, wow. So they were peer pressuring her. Esme Bird was a lay clerk at Bangor Cathedral, not church, for 6 months and regularly sang with the choir until leaving it in January of 2023. The 29-year-old said the culture and attitude to alcohol was deeply unhealthy, with some people getting really catastrophically drunk. There was a culture of binge drinking, said Esme, not necessarily all the time, but certainly there was a lot of alcohol around almost all the services and various events. It seemed to be any excuse to bring out the wine, any excuse to go to the pub, she said. Esme said she became concerned about the well-being of younger members of the choir, especially the language used around them. It was the level of 18-rated sexual jokes, crude sexual humor done in front of the children as young as 6 or 7, said Esme. Well, that's not good. In terms of safeguarding training, there was absolutely nothing. There was no training. So in terms of certainly me starting and me doing my job, there was no training or anything whatsoever. Esme said she was only asked to do a DBS check a couple of weeks after starting. I don't know what that is. Did we skip a stories or something here?
Kind of sounds like it.
I don't know what a DBS check. It's part of the story, but I don't know.
Oh,
weird. It also says here that the previous concerns about a drinking culture at the cathedral contributed to the decision to undertake a bishop's visitation to the cathedral. The inappropriate use of alcohol within and during cathedral activities included encouragement by some towards others to consume alcohol. Basically, it's just repeating the same stuff. But they do say DBS checks are required in safeguarding training delivered in line with UK legislation and the Church of Wales policies regarding the blessing of beer, Mallie. They blessed the beer there at that cathedral. The spokesperson said this was occasionally practiced in churches, but that the abuse of alcohol is always inappropriate. So somewhere in there, they decided they needed to bless beer. I don't know what that's all about, but they're having a little too much fun in Wales. And the 7 shots of Christ.
Yeah.
Which is way inappropriate. I don't even think Christ would drink his own blood that way.
Ew, that sounds gross when you say that.
It does, yeah. Oh. Our next story has to do with the Loch Ness Monster's iconic humps, his lovely lady humps, which are rarely ever seen, according to this story. Despite being a staple of the creature's depiction in popular culture, Nessie's humps are rarely ever sighted. I would think because he's a modest Nessie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Most people will be familiar with the quintessential image of Scotland's iconic Loch Ness Monster. a creature typically depicted as having a long neck and humps which protrude from the water. In practice, though, next to nobody ever reports seeing these humps. Most sightings of the monster tend to take the form of indistinct shapes in the water or unusual wakes and disturbances. Sometimes a neck-like shape is spotted, but the humps themselves rarely or barely ever make an appearance. These were the findings of a recent study by Dr. Charles Paxton from the University of St. Andrews and Adrian Shine from the Loch Ness Center, whose research revealed that only 1.5% of Loch Ness Monster sightings over the last 100 years involve reports of humps. Something tells me that these two men have been locked up way too long.
Yeah.
They're looking for humps. This is in stark contrast to the local postcards and other depictions of up to a third of them show humps. Again, men locked up in rooms for far too long.
Right.
The pair also noted that the depiction of Nessie's head, neck, and body elevated high above the water was biologically impossible based on the swimming behavior of other animals. That said, however, witness testimonies were generally found not to be influenced by such portrayals, despite previous suggestions to the contrary. Scholars often assume that monsters are generated by cultural expectations, but it is always useful to test obvious hypotheses, said Dr. Paxton. In this case, it really seems witnesses do not generally report the impossible, even though the hoop monster is a common portrayal of Nessie. Sightings in general seem to be thin on the ground, too, with only 3 sightings last year and 2 this year. Ironically, one of this year's actually did include a sighting of 2 humps in the water. Nessie's in the water with 2 humps. Nessie's in the water with 2 humps. Nessie's in the water with 2 humps. Go, Nessie, go, boom, boom, boom. I don't know. It just kind of came to me. Mm-hmm. All right, now that my terrible singing's over.
Mm-hmm.
Ball lightning. What'd you think about that, Mal?
It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Well, there's some footage out there that shows clear examples of ball lightning in Alberta. A bright, luminous ball of crackling energy or electricity was captured on camera hovering over a field near a couple's home. The clip, which possibly is the clearest video of the phenomena ever captured, was filmed on Wednesday evening during an intense period of stormy weather in Alberta, Canada. It shows the ball lightning hovering and moving slowly across a grassy field around 1 kilometer away. After a rather vicious lightning strike, we see a ball of fire kind of about 20 feet above the ground, said Ed Party, who filmed the spectacle while watching it happen with his wife. His footage also captured the moment that a ball of lightning vanished after about 23 seconds. Before it went out there, it was a bit of a pop, and the whole thing kind of disintegrated and went away, he said. I was glad it was far away from our house. Ball lightning is a particularly rare meteorological event that happens under very specific circumstances and which is very difficult to reproduce on demand in a laboratory. While there have been a very small number of reported sightings over the years, this one is particularly special because of the quality of the footage that goes along with it. I tell you what, I'm going to post this again in the description of this program so you can see how clear this footage really is. And here's a picture, Mal, of the ball lightning itself. Take a look at that.
Okay.
Pretty clear, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll get a look at the footage there in the description of the program, so you can actually watch this ball lightning. It's quite impressive. All right, I teased earlier that this black goo that you saw on the X-Files has actually had a bit of a real life encounter itself on a dock ship in Cleveland, Ohio. I am having a hell of a time today. I don't know what my deal is. The pitch black tar-like substance resembled something out of an episode of The X-Files. The strangeness began when a research boat known as the Blue Heron started experiencing mechanical difficulties during a trip to Lake Erie and was dry docked for repairs. While investigating the issue, Captain Rual Lee discovered a strange, thick, black tar-like substance that seemed to be oozing out of the rudder. Unable to determine what it was, they sent a sample to the University of Minnesota Duluth. When researchers analyzed the substance, they discovered that it contained 20 DNA sequences. And while many could be identified, several were completely novel and unknown to science. They concluded that the substance, known now, Mallie, as ShipGoo-1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting name.
It is a single-celled organism. Its precise nature and origins, however, remain a mystery. The biggest surprise was that the ShipGoo had a life in it at all, said lead researcher Cody Sheik. We thought we'd find nothing, but surprisingly, we found DNA, and it wasn't too destroyed, nor was the biomass too low. Unsurprisingly, news of the discovery quickly generated a great deal of debate on social media, with many users comparing the goo to that of the 90s TV show, The X-Files. Some also compared it to the substance in Ridley Scott's Prometheus. At least in this case, however, we don't have to worry about it turning anyone into an alien xenomorph. At least probably. But it is a real organism.
Mm-hmm.
It's a single cell, but it's a real organism. Another organism that's out there, but could actually be a good thing, Mallie, and lead to curing a disease is the toxic fungus that's in Tutankhamun's tomb.
Okay.
It could actually lead to new cancer treatments.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's tell you a little bit about it. There's a remarkable find within the young pharaoh's tomb that could lead to an invaluable medical breakthrough. According to Justin Stebbing, in November of 1922, when archaeologist Howard Carter peered through a small hole in the sealed tomb of King Tutankhamun, he was asked if he could see anything, and he replied, yes, wonderful things. Within months, however, Carter's financial backer, Lord Carnarvon, was dead from a mysterious illness. Over the following years, several other members from the excavation team would meet similar fates, fueling legends of the pharaoh's curse that have captivated the public's imagination for just over a century. For decades, these mysterious deaths were attributed to supernatural forces, but modern science has revealed a more likely culprit. It was a toxic fungus known as Aspergillus flavus. Ask for it by name at your local pub, by the way.
Yeah.
It's delicious. Now, in an unexpected twist, the same deadly organism is being transformed into a powerful new weapon in a fight against cancer. Aspergillus flavus is a common mold found in soil, decaying vegetation, and stored grains. It's infamous for its ability to survive in harsh environments, including the sealed chambers of ancient tombs, where it can lie dormant for thousands of years. Now, when disturbed, the fungus releases spores that can cause severe respiratory infections, particularly in people with weakened immune systems. This may explain the so-called curse of Tutankhamun and similar incidents, such as the deaths of several scientists who entered the tomb of Casimir IV in Poland in the 1970s. In both cases, investigations later found that A. flavus was present, and its toxins were probably responsible for the illnesses and the deaths. Despite its deadly reputations, Aspergillus flavus is now at the center of a remarkable scientific finding. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania have discovered that this fungus produces a unique class of molecules with the potential to fight cancer. Now, these molecules belong to a group called ribosomally synthesized and transitionally modified peptides, or RIPs. That was hard for me to get through. RIPs are made by the ribosome, or the cell's protein factory, and are later chemically altered to enhance their function. While thousands of RIPs have been identified in bacteria, only a handful have been found in fungi until now. The process of finding these fungal RIPs are far from simple. The research team screened a dozen different strains and types of Aspergillus, searching for chemical clues that might indicate the presence of these promising molecules. Aspergillus flavus quickly stood out as a prime candidate. The researchers compared the chemicals from different fungal strains to known RIP compounds and found promising matches. To confirm their discovery, they switched off the relevant genes, and sure enough, the target chemicals vanished, proving that they had found their source. Purifying these chemicals proved to be a significant challenge. However, this complexity is also what gives fungal rips their remarkable biological activity. The team eventually succeeded in isolating 4 different rips from Aspergillus flavus. These molecules shared a unique structure of interlocking rings, a feature that had never been described before. The researchers named these new compounds aspergillomycins, after the fungus in which they were found. The next step was to also test these aspergillomycins against human cancer cells. In some cases, they stopped the growth of cancer cells, suggesting that aspergillomycins could one day become a new treatment for certain types of cancers. The team also worked out how these chemicals get inside cancer cells. This discovery is significant because many chemicals, like aspergillomycins, have medical properties, but struggle to enter cells large enough and in large enough quantities to be useful. Knowing that particular fats or lipids can enhance this process gives scientists a new tool for drug development. Further experiments revealed that aspergillomycins probably disrupt the process of cell division in cancer cells. Cancer cells divide uncontrollably, and these compounds appear to block the formation of microtubules, which is the scaffolding inside the cells that are essential for cell division. Now, the disruption is specific to certain types of cells, so this may be, in turn, reducing the risk of side effects. But the discovery of aspergillomycins is just the beginning. The researchers also identified similar clusters of genes in other fungi, suggesting that many more fungal rips remain to be discovered. Almost all the fungal rips found so far have this strong biological activity, making this an area with tremendous untapped potential. The next step is to test aspergillomycins in other systems and models, with the hope of eventually moving to human clinical trials. If successful, these molecules could join the ranks of other fungal-derived medicines such as penicillin, which revolutionized modern medicine. The story of Aspergillus flavus is a powerful example of how nature can be both a source of danger and a wellspring of healing. For centuries, this fungus was feared as a silent killer lurking in ancient tombs, responsible for mysterious deaths in the legend of a pharaoh's curse. Today, scientists are turning that fear into hope and harnessing the same deadly spores to create life-saving medicines. So there you go. Turns out that fungus can save lives. I've got one more story about the Great Pyramid and who built it.
Okay.
New findings have offered up a clearer picture as to who built the last remaining ancient wonder of the world. During a recent exploration of narrow chambers above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza, famed Egyptologist Dr. Zahi Hawass and his team uncovered previously unseen markings and inscriptions that were thought to have been left by workers over 3,500 years ago. The markings, along with the discovery of tombs belonging to skilled laborers to the south, contribute to the argument that the builders of the ancient monument were not slaves, as some would have claimed. Instead, they were likely to be skilled craftsmen who were revered for their work. The discoveries confirmed that the builders were not slaves, said Dr. Hawass. If they had been, they would have never been buried in the shadow of the pyramids. Slaves would not have prepared their tombs for eternity like kings and queens did inside these tombs. Dr. Hawass also addressed speculation that these inscriptions could be forgeries. They were found in chambers that are difficult and dangerous to access, and they use writing styles that only trained Egyptologists can accurately interpret, he said, on the Matt Bial Limitless podcast. It's nearly impossible that someone in recent times could have forged something like this. You must climb about 45. While some explorers did leave their own markings inside the pyramid during the 18th and 19th centuries, Dr. Hawass is adamant that the recently found inscriptions are not examples of these. The inscriptions we found are clearly much older original graffiti from ancient Egyptian workers, he went on to say. So Turns out it was skilled laborers who built that original Great Pyramid. So there you go. All right, Mallie. That's it for Supernatural News for this week. By the way, get your Parashares in. The way you do that, send us your original story by email to tim@darknessradio.com. If you want to leave a voice note, go to darknessradioshow.com. Click on that blue button that's on the right-hand side of the webpage. You've got 2 minutes to leave your voice note. If you need more time, just click on the blue button again. You've got another 2 minutes. Rinse and repeat for as many minutes as you need. I'll stitch it together. We can air it right here on the show. Or if you have a studio, just like the one I'm sitting in right here, you can add your voice, add some music, add some sound effects, put it all together, submit it to me at tim@darknessradio.com. I'll review it. If it's good enough for air, we'll air it right here on the show. Now, we have a palate cleanser, Mallie.
Okay.
Something to rinse the palate of the supernatural news of the day. I told you before, sometimes pretty pets back, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get into nature. Mm-hmm. And you say, that's a pretty animal. I think I want to pet it. But sometimes pretty pets back.
Okay.
We were talking to John Russell last week. Mm-hmm. And he said, there's some people that go out to Colorado and they want to pet the bison. Mm-hmm. But the bison don't want to be petted.
Yeah.
And sometimes they put their heads down and charge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one motorcyclist who, let's just say, was out for a drive, decided he wanted to pet a bear.
Oh, this isn't going to be good.
You called it. Turns out he was mauled to death by a bear while on holiday after he posted a selfie with one. Mm. So he's like, cheese bear. It wasn't a good story. He was in Romania. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a special thing going on in Romania after this story. But by the way, if you go to Romania with our friends, don't pet the bears, okay? And by the way, you will have an opportunity with our friends from Mysterious Adventures Tours to go with Dacre Stoker to Romania. Well, I'll tell you about it in just a second. But when you go to Romania, don't pet the bears, okay? That's all we're asking. I mean, take advantage of Dracula's castle. Just don't pet the bears. So an Italian man was mauled to death by a bear while on a motorcycling trip in Romania, and he took selfies with the animal before the fatal attack. Don't do that. Omar Farangzin had posted photos and video of bear encounters while riding along Romania's famous, is this Transfagarzan Road the day before his death. This is why I need to go to Romania, so I know how to pronounce this.
There you go.
Yeah. Romanian authorities said he got off his motorbike and tried to feed a bear. Don't do that. Mm-mm. No. Before it dragged him into a ravine. By the way, this is his last selfie.
Well, at least he's smiling.
Yeah, at least he's got a smile on his face, right?
But I like how he's pointing to the bear.
He's pointing to the bear, right? He's doing all the things you do in your selfie. He's smiling, pointing at the bear.
Smart man.
Later, authorities told Romanian news outlets they found pictures and close-ups on his phone of a bear approaching him on his phone. Armand Chirlu, director of the Argus Forestry Directorate, told Observator News he got off the motorcycle and offered the bear food. The Italian tourist phone was also found, which contained some pictures prior to the attack. With the bear approaching, pictures, close-ups. Yeah. The bear then attacked him, authorities said, dragging Mr. Zinn into the forest while other motorcyclists at the scene called emergency services. No one was brave enough to get off and try to separate the bear from Mr. Zinn. Right. Responders, including firefighters, forestry authorities, and police, found the man's body, which had been dragged into a ravine by the bear. But they quickly realized they were also in danger, according to the Observator. Because once the bear gets a taste of human blood, you're done. Mm-hmm. Dragosania Argus from Mountain Rescue told news outlet, the bear followed us the whole time. She was very agitated. She attacked us a few times too. I'm thinking the bear probably had to be put down. The bear was later shot dead.
Oh, there you go. There's your answer.
The day before his death, Mr. Zinn posted several close-up videos and photos of encounters with bears on the road. In one video, he rides past a bear on his motorbike, commenting, "Look, a bear, how beautiful." In another clip, he watches a bear in a graveled area as the bear turns to approach him. "It's coming towards me," he says. Oh, boy. Italian media report that Mr. Zinn lived in the town of Samarate in the northern region of Lombardy. Milano Today reported he worked at Malpensa Airport, and dozens of tributes flowed in on his social media page, many of whom said they would remember him for his smiling and kind personality. Nearly 30 people have been killed by bears in Romania over the past 2 decades. The Environment Ministry has said sightings of bears are common, and local media regularly report bear attacks on people and livestock. So don't go near the bears, especially in Romania. In 2024, Romania's parliament doubled the annual bear kill quota to 481 per year. The move was taken to control the size of the bear population and to remove animals that have become accustomed to entering cities in search of food. It came just a week after a 19-year-old hiker died after she was attacked by a bear on a popular trail in the Carpathian Mountains in central Romania. The teenager called emergency services after she was attacked. Just a few months prior, a 72-year-old Scottish tourist was mauled by a bear in Argyll County after rolling down her car window to take a photo with the animal. Don't take photos with the bears.
Mm-hmm.
Wildlife experts have said bear attacks have increased because of human behavior as a shrinking of the animals' habitats due to construction, logging, and climate change are being contributed to that. Okay, so I mentioned Romania.
Mm-hmm.
Our good friends over at Mysterious Adventures Tours have a tour just for you this October during Halloween. I know that there was a little bit of controversy last week online. You can ignore that controversy. This trip has not been canceled. It is a haunted Halloween Romania tour, and Dacre Stoker is now heading this tour. And there is nothing more perfect, Mallie, than going to Dracula's castle with the great-grandson of Bram Stoker. I can't think of a more perfect deal during Halloween. Can you?
And he's a really nice guy, too.
Oh, my gosh, is he nice.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Dacre Stoker will be on this program a week from tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this very trip and talk about some of the things that they have planned for this trip, because it is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. By the way, you'll be able to, through a special code, be able to book this trip and get $100 off per person by using the code DARKNESS. So I want you to consider this, folks. It's a 12-day trip, October 27th through November 7th of this year. I want you to consider it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, all right? We'll have a link in the description of this program. By the way, we're also going to post a link to it as well, darknessradioshow.com in the events section. Folks, I'm telling you, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And boy, are there lots of great stuff planned. The Bucharest Old Town in Bellu Cemetery, Ponari Fortress, Brand Castle, and a VIP vampire ball. Right? On Halloween. Mm-hmm. It's going to be something special. I believe is it Jilava or Hilava Prison is one of the places you'll be going. The Hunyard Castle as well. There's lots of castles involved here. Lots of great stuff. The Nevermore Academy is part of this as well. along with the Pelesh Castle? And lots of things I can't pronounce. Mm-hmm. Also the Haunted Forest that's there as well as part of it. Bucharest Old Town, I already said that, Bucharest Old Town in the Buga Cemetery. Lots of good stuff, folks. Lots of classic places that you'll be going. With Dacre, you'll explore haunted forests, eerie cemeteries, unravel the dark energy of the mystical Witch's Pond, delve into Romania's notorious Hoia. Is it Hoia? I can't pronounce it. Hoia Bashu?
I have no idea.
Forest? I have to get
I'm the worst at pronouncing.
I have to get the pronunciations from Dacre.
Mm-hmm.
But it's known worldwide as the Bermuda Triangle of the paranormal.
Okay.
I know that much. So I know you're going to want to be there. But between the ghost hunts and rituals, you can savor traditional Transylvania feasts, local market delights, warm village hospitality. There's going to be all kinds of great stuff to sample. Lots of great things to experience there. Right there with Dacre Stoker. You'll celebrate Halloween night inside Bran Castle, the legendary Dracula's castle, and have a vampire ball right there with Dacre Stoker himself. What a trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a great time. And, of course, you'll be able to break these trips up over 10 payments. So
that's nice that you don't have to have payment all at once.
Yep. So we'll have details for you, and we'll have a link for you as well on darknessradioshow.com in the event section. So, all right, that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow's program, we have an old friend stopping by. Dave Spinks will be with us, and we're going to be talking about Mothman. He has a book out on Mothman, so we'll talk about that. Also, Dave has a brand new project in the works. He's taken some of his paranormal poetry and he's converted it to music and in metal music, and it's really good. Actually, I got to listen to some of the music this weekend. Very interesting stuff, Mallie.
Okay.
So he's got a couple of different irons in the fire. So we're going to spend some time with Dave Spinks tomorrow, right here on the program. Look forward to it. So lots of good stuff, Mallie.
Very cool.
And pardon me, I got hiccups now.
Hiccups with excitement.
That's right. Evidently, Mothman and music give me hiccups. Like I mentioned, next week, Dacre Stoker will be talking about Transylvania and Romania and Dracula and that trip. Boy, lots of good stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited. Lots of good stuff coming up here in July for Darkness Radio. Hits keep on coming. So, and I'd like to thank you guys as well that are continuing to listen to us and watch us on the YouTube channel. By the way, if you're watching the video of this, please like and subscribe. If you haven't been watching the video, it's easy. You can find the video either by going to darknessradioshow.com, clicking on the show that you're interested in watching the video of. The video is right above the audio. Just click on the video, or go to YouTube and look for the original Darkness Radio. Click on the video you're interested in, then like and subscribe afterwards. We'd appreciate it. All right, that'll do it for today. For Mallie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the best in paranormal programming. This is Darkness Radio.